All right. Today we're going to be covering lesson 5.1, classifying angles. This chapter is going to be all about geometry, triangles, finding measures of triangles, things like that. And we will get to that later on. But today we're just going to start off nice and easy with classifying different types of angles. This is going to be on page 186 of your book. So you can turn there, get out your notes, and then we'll get started. The first type of angles that we're going to talk about are complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. They have a sum or add to exactly 90 degrees. So for example, you might have an angle that is, let's say, 30 degrees, and you might have another angle that is, let's say, 60 degrees. And when you add those two together, you get 90. And so you would say that these two angles are complementary. Another way that you could tell if angles are complementary is if they are located inside of a right angle. And I'm going to attempt my best here to draw a right angle. So let's say that we had a line there and a line here. It's not too bad actually. Okay, and that little box that I just drew right there tells us that it's a right angle. Now let's say that we had an angle coming out of that, like that. And so we had angle 1 here and angle 2 here, but we didn't know what the measures of 1 and 2 are. That's just their name. Because of the fact that they are located inside of a right angle, signified by this red half square, we know that in fact 1 and 2 are complementary. The other type of angles that we're going to talk about are supplementary angles. And supplementary angles are angles that have a sum of 180 degrees. And so you might have two angles, one that is, let's say, 135, like the example in your book, and 45. To test to see if these are complementary, all you need to do is do 135 plus 45. 5 plus 5 gives me 10. That's 8. That's 1. When you see that they're 180, you know that they're supplementary. So let's try a few as examples. I have 3 up here that we're going to try. These are also in your book on page 186. They're labeled A, B, and C, right? So where our directions are to tell whether or not these are complementary, supplementary, or neither, and they will be neither if they don't add up to 90 or 180. So let's do example number 1 first to test to see if those are any one of the angles that we've talked about. We're going to add them together, and we will do 110 plus 70, and I get 180 degrees. So these angles, the first one is supplementary. Okay, let's try number 2. Number 2, we have 49 plus 41. We get 0, carry the 1. That's 90. So those are complementary. And the last one, 128 plus 62. 8 plus 0, carry the 1. That's 9. 190 degrees, that is neither. So the process of finding out and solving these angles isn't rocket surgery. It should be pretty simple. I'm going to give you a few that you can, and here they are. Okay, I want you to try these on your own. I want you to pause this video here. Solve these. If you can't read my handwriting or it's too small, these are in your book on the bottom of page 186, numbers 1, 2, and 3. So pause it here and see what answers you come up with. Okay, number 1, you should get complementary because they add up to 90. Number 2, you should get supplementary because when you add them together, they add up to 180. And for number 3, you should get neither because they don't add up to either 90 or 180. They add up to, this number 3 adds up to 89, which is close, but it needs to be exactly 90. Two words that we need to go over are congruent and vertical angles. For congruent, what I need you to know is that these are two angles that have the same measurement. They can be any measurement as long as they're the same, both 80, both 75, whatever. Okay. And then vertical angles will be the first type of relationship that we will be studying. Here's what you need to know about vertical angles. Okay, first, vertical angles are congruent, meaning, as you just learned, they have the same angle measurement. Okay, the other thing that you need to know is that they are formed. Again, I'm just writing this down. This is in your book on page 187. They are formed by the intersection of two lines. Okay. So they're going to look like this, and I'm going to do my best to draw this. Forgive me, it's hard to draw. Yeah, let me redo that. Yuck. There we go. So here we have intersecting lines, and these intersecting lines are going to create vertical angles. Okay, so let me see. I have angle 1 and 2 here, and angle 3 and angle 4 here. Those are the 4 angles that have been created by my 2 intersecting lines. And vertical angles are going to be across from each other. So 1 is across from 2. So we would say that angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. And 3 is across from 4. So we would say that 3 and 4 are vertical angles. And because of this relationship, and we know that they are vertical angles, we can say that angle 4 equals angle 3 because they are congruent. And we can also say that angle 1 is equal to angle 2 because those two are vertical angles and they will be congruent as well. Putting everything that we just learned together about complementary angles, supplementary angles, and now vertical angles, we're going to use that knowledge to find x. Okay, so let's look at this first example that I have over here, and this is on page 187 in your book. They want us to find the value of x. What does x equal? And we just learned about vertical angles, and if you can recognize that x is right across from 70, and 70 and x are vertical angles, and remember that vertical angles are congruent, we would know that x has to equal 70 degrees for it to be a vertical angle. Okay, pretty easy stuff. Moving over to the example on the right, we have a right angle as indicated by this red half square, meaning that this whole big angle adds up to 90 degrees. Inside of that 90-degree angle, we have one coming off of it, and it splits it up into a 50-degree angle and an angle that we don't know what it is. Well, we know that the whole thing is 90, and some of it is 50, so what's left over? To find that, you could just do the whole big angle minus the part we know, and that would give you 40. So x has to be a 40-degree angle. And then we're done. So here are some for you to try on your own. I want you to find x using the knowledge that you have now. Pause the video here and find each x. Good luck. Okay, let's tackle number one. Number one, to solve this, you would have had to know that a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. And so you would take 180, and then you would subtract 85 from that. And when you do 180 minus 85, you would get 95 degrees. And so x has to equal 95 degrees. For number two, you have a 90-degree angle right here. And so you're looking for x, which is right across from that, which means it's a vertical angle and thus complementary. Or I'm not sorry, complementary, but congruent. And so if it's congruent to 90 degrees, x must then also equal 90 degrees. Not too bad. Okay, number three. Sorry for the squiggly lines. It's really hard to draw on an iPad. Anyway, this one, you have a 90-degree angle with a 69-degree angle inside of it. And so to find x, you would do 90 minus 69. And when you do 90 minus 69, you should get 21 degrees. And so then your answer is x equals 21 degrees. So overall, not too bad, I hope. If you have any questions, you can ask, or you can email me or rewatch the video. That's a good thing about videos, is if I went too fast, you always have the opportunity to go back and rewatch it. If it confused you and you had no idea, or if you just fell asleep because it was super boring, can't do anything about that. Your homework is going to be on page 188, and we are going to do numbers 6 through, this stuff is pretty easy. So let's do 6 through 18. All right, that should be it. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good day, and we'll see you for 5.2.